Check this out. This is the gigantic polygonal wall of Alaca, Höyük. We've walked through the Sphinx entrance. Now let's check this out. This is remarkable. Look at the puffy polygonal shapes. The way it's all joined together is just like what you find in ancient Cusco, Sacsayhuaman and other places. Hey Megalithomaniacs, here we are at Alaca, Höyük in the Hittite area of central Turkey. Now we come in here because not only is it an extremely ancient site, but there are polygonal walls, giant Sphinx statues, ancient Neolithic and Bronze Age remains and graves, a tunnel and a hold stone and much more. This is a really special, really interesting site, which became a Hittite site, but there's a much deeper history to it than that. So this is the remnants of the spring of Irina, which is just outside the entrance current day of Alaca, Höyük. And obviously it wasn't like this originally, but this would have been possibly the reason why this site might have been chosen, because you have a natural water spring coming out of the ground here. Now this would have been a very important space for that, a very important aspect of why you chose such a site. There's probably other geodetic influences and kind of protection of their culture, things like this, but the fact is this is the water and it's still running today. So behind me is the famous Sphinx Gate of Alaca, Höyük, and this is like a Hittite part of the site. It's a later part of the site. It's 10 meters or 30 feet in width, and the exterior faces of the large post blocks flanking the gate entrance, which is like polygonal walls, are kind of joined together in this, like, it was like an arch originally. I'll show you an image of it with the kind of sphinxes on either side. On the left tower there's a bull standing on it that symbolizes the storm god. On the next block we have king and queen, and we have other elements we'll have a look at throughout the whole area. Let's have a closer look at these. You can see the great bull, we have the kind of T-shaped Göbekli type pillar, and all the different ritual events, climbing the ladder to heaven and so on and so forth. And these are polygonal blocks. They're not as neat and tidy and precise as the ones we'll look at in a moment. But there's also some over here which probably came from the same wall. Clearly they're quite badly worn, but this would have been part of the main entrance into Alaca, Höyük. And you can see beautiful 3D kind of relief carvings, classic kind of Hittite. So here is one of the two giant sphinxes guarding the site at Alaca, Höyük. We have the other one over here as well. Here we have the double eagle motif, but on top of it there are actually feet and a garment of some kind of female or goddess, which has been completely worn out now. So here we are at the back of the polygonal wall. We're walking through the gate. Check this out. This is the gigantic polygonal wall of Alaca, Höyük. We've walked through the Sphinx entrance. Now let's check this out. This is remarkable. Look at the puffy polygonal shapes. The way it's all joined together is just like what you find in ancient Cusco, Sacsayhuaman and other places. These seams, this puffiness is absolutely stunning. So this is one of the kind of cornerstones. These are the kind of classic polygonal stones, but it's this one on the end here which is really interesting. I mean, just look at the size of this compared to me. This is like 8 foot tall, it's probably 7.5 feet deep, links perfectly with all these other stones and the way they're puffy, polygonal, absolutely amazing.
In front of us is the recreation of 6 of what was originally 13 royal graves belonging to what are known as the Hatti or the Hattian culture. They date to about 2000 to 2500 BC, and quite clearly they're the burial places of royalty, you know, possibly even kings. And inside them there's the most lavish grave goods possible, made of different types of metal, including bronze, including gold, including electron. And you've also got incredible images of deer made of bronze, but also what they call these sun discs, which are these complex lattice work pieces of bronze, some of which have got like these circles with crosses hanging from them, some of which have got birds on the top, or what they appear like rosettes around them. And clearly, you know, these are symbols of the sky world, symbols of the cosmos, the universe, and the deer itself is an important symbol for the Hattians that was eventually adopted by the Hittites, and almost certainly it gives us a key to understand where these people actually came from. And although clearly they lived in Anatolia and had probably taken up residence here, their ancestors had come via the Caucasus Mountains and on the Russian steppe, basically, and they're generally known as the Kurgan culture. The actual names of the specific cultures are the Mykop and the Yamna, and they lived as far back as sort of 2,500 back to about 4 to 4,500 BC, and they seem to be the ancestors of these people. They were early Indo-European people, early Bronze Age cultures. They would have used horses. They would definitely have been a very fighting warrior tribal culture, very similar to the so-called Scythians, who would come to occupy the Russian steppe much later. But they weren't simply a sort of a patriarchal society. I mean, most people, you know, say that the Bronze Age peoples were purely patriarchal and they went around smashing the matriarchy, and to some degree that probably did occur. But you'll see in some of these tombs that there are actually mother goddess statues, and that clearly suggests that they were venerating, you know, obviously this female form. And I mean, the actual skeletal remains themselves are thought to be male, but I mean, who knows? Some of them, you know, may have been female as well, some of these burials. So we don't really know exactly. But what can we tell about this? I mean, the fact that they are at this place where the Hittites would take up residence and carry out quite complex rituals in the name of the different Hattian gods and goddesses, including Irina, who would seem to be one of the patrons of this site. I mean, her spring is immediately outside of the entrance to Elijah Höyük, and she and her family would seem to be associated with the deer. The deer was an important shamanic symbol in North Asia, particularly around Siberia, Mongolia, even into Central Asia. And these were beliefs and practices that would have been associated with shamanism, brought into Anatolia, where they became more religious rites as opposed to specific shamanism. There's you know, papers written that talk about the kings having to quite literally ride on the top of deer. I mean, whether it was a symbolic thing or what, actually at this site, as if this was important to do this deer ritual actually at this site. And I'm sure that it's associated with their inheritance of this Hattian culture, basically, which originally had come as far east as Siberia. There are links between the peoples that came to live in the area of Georgia, which is obviously, you know, a neighbouring country of Anatolia, that the deer was important, a symbol of the Milky Way and the path to the stars, you know. And this is folklore which I found out during a previous tour here, and I actually had a dream about the Milky Way and a deer before we got here, and it was quite complex, and it all checked out and allowed me to understand Elijah Höyük when we got here, and to see all the deer stuff and make this connection with the Mykop culture, the Yamna culture, and the whole, you know, the greater Kurgan people that were building these huge great earthen mounds, you know, all the way from virtually Siberia all the way into Anatolia in the past. So you know, a lot of these ideas, but quite clearly the Hatti lived here, and clearly you know, they probably just didn't arrive from the Russian steppe, but it was their ancestors that would have come from that position. And obviously the Hatti is the term that the Hittites used for these ancestors. That's what they called them. They called them the Hatti. I don't know why, but they did.
So we're now entering the postern. Now this is supposedly some kind of fortification tunnel that all these Hittite sites had, and you can only have pedestrians coming through here. I've actually got someone playing the drums in here. But what's interesting as well is that we have this. We have this whole stone in the top, and this could be a repurposed ancient, possibly Mesolithic Göbekli Tepe era hold stone, which we find there, where the soul may have travelled through. It could have had other purposes, but why is that here? We'll see it from above as well. So let's get in here, take a walk through. Just going over, and you can see the cyclopean construction here now. It's quite different to the giant polygonal walls we saw near the entrance, but still this cyclopean construction, this masonry is very, very good. It's like Mycenaean. It's got the same era as the Mycenaean, in fact, in ancient Greece. So we're just walking through this so-called postern tunnel, but the cyclopean nature of this reminds me of Saxe-Romain and certainly the Mycenae site, and also Hattusa. There's one like this as well, but we just did some, Glenn Velez just did some drumming with some beautiful overtoning, and the acoustics in here are remarkable. So was this actually a sacred tunnel? The fact is that way heads west, and this way back the entrance we just came in is exactly south, so the opposite coming in is north. And the fact you have that porthole stone there is very, very interesting. So was that actually in front of the door? Would initiates only be able to come in one way? Very, very beautiful, very interesting place. We must remember that the entire floor was lined with giant blocks, kind of where we're standing on now. These are gigantic mega blocks going all the way out, all the way up in the corbelled kind of vaulted roof, but also along the floor and all around the whole city walls. We have these gigantic polygonal and cyclopean masonry. And here we're coming out towards the west, which Dave has suggested could be a equinox sunset alignment. It could well be. So here we have massive cut marks, or these are mortise and tenon joints like we find at Stonehenge. These almost look like the Stonehenge lintels. Look at these. They've got 3 of them on here. They really wanted that one to stay in place. Look at all the kind of notches carved out of this one. This one's about 12 feet, 10 feet wide. And here as well. And all up here, look at this. So we've got another kind of major wall here with another entrance over to, I guess we're over to the east here. Look, you can see the shaping of some of these stones, proving it's the same style. Exactly the same kind of quality of stonework, but this is much more ruined and battered, kind of destroyed. You can see some of the outer part of it there, and you can see loads of these holes carved into the stone here. These may well be mortise and tenon joints. That's what it suggested it is, but they could have been to collect water. They could have had a more sacred purpose. But look, this is a bit different. So you've got these ones here, you've got these holes here. You come into the shade there, you've got like beautifully smoothed little areas where it looks like they've been deliberately smoothed off. I mean, what is that all about? Let's get back down to the main wall over there in the distance, see what we see on the way. I must admit, Alaca Höyük gets more and more impressive every time I visit here. I keep finding new things, more giant stones. The idea that the whole stone might be super ancient, and also the fact that the dating here now is being pushed right back to the early Neolithic. So this may have been a legacy, this may have been a continuation from Şanlıurfa, because it's known that those from Göbekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe moved this way, moved inland into the central area of Anatolia. So if that's the case, maybe their influence is found at sites just like this. As we walk back towards the main wall, we can just see that many of these cyclopean blocks are still here. They're propped up. You know, it almost looks like there was some kind of avenue kind of going down here, but these have all got shaping on them. These are not kind of random. And this is like the kind of walkway, the main walkway through the site. And again, look, even over here, if we just walk over here, you've got more of these. This is another hold stone. Oh my God, look at this. So this is the second one of these. Oh my goodness. This is incredible. So whether this was just to hold a giant post, or whether this is one of the super ancient, possibly not long after Göbekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe, and one of the portal stones, or at least a later representation of that idea found here at Alaca Höyük. This is just like the one found on top of the entrance to the tunnel. So we really have to question how old this is. Was this part of the earlier Hatti or Hattian culture? We're known to be like earth worshipping, mother goddess, religious cult. Or is it even older? Wow, this is incredible. This could be super ancient. Also, we have these relatively modern carved holes in, which are there for unknown reasons. And then all the way down here, all the way down this avenue, back to the main gigantic central outer wall. So we're heading back out of the temple area now. And it's interesting because you have this, another portal stone, small one, right at the entrance. Now that is interesting. So that could have been a place for offerings. There's another one even there as well, right at the entrance, the other side of the entrance. And look, gigantic stone, like we saw up the top there, which has this. Again, potentially another place where offerings, sacraments may have been placed, and another one on this side, kind of blending into one of these giant blocks that form this entrance way that then leads up there. Absolutely mind-blowing. Wow, this is like a Peru style mega block with a nub on it. Look at this. Now that you don't see every day, especially in Turkey. And this has got a bulge on one side, so that is quite unusual. You see it amazingly from there. The way that sticks out there, that is a clear nub. And you got this block here as well. Beautiful piece. Again, this has got a whole kind of channel carved right through it. You can see that there. And the one with the nub also has a channel. There you can see it. On top. There's a nub on the back by the looks of it as well. Both sides. Both stones. And there's Eric there inspecting it. This is another gigantic chunk. Now we head back to the megalithic masterwork, which is the gigantic entrance wall at the site. And you've got a channel. You have underground channels carved out here, lined with large stones originally. You can see those here. But here is the masterwork here. Look at this. We're just now leaving Alaca Höyük. This has been an incredible visit here with JJ Ainsworth, Andrew Collins. Come and check this out with us in May. It's just remarkable. The polygonal walls, the cyclopean nature of this. It is really one of the most impressive sites in Turkey. So thanks for watching Megalithomaniacs, and we'll see you next time.